When I first played Final Fantasy VII Remake back in 2020 last year, my mind was blown, and I will say that with full confidence, this FF7 Remake is the best current gen RPG game ever made. The combat, the story, the main characters, mix that in with the materia system where you have to equip materia in order to use summons, which calls forth huge colossal beasts which assist you in battle, and magic which can help you stagger certain enemies weak to that element of magic. Felt great and amazing as it did back in 1997, back on the original PS1. Seeing all of the old PS1 locations brought to life on the PlayStation 4 and the classic music remade for a newer generation while still staying true to the original made me shed a tear while I was playing through the game. I was left wanting more, and my prayers were answered, well, sort of, with the playable Yuffie Intermission DLC for FF7 Remake Intergrade, which is basically just FF7 Remake upgraded for the PlayStation 5. So today, I'm very excited to hop into this DLC episode and review it. With that said, let's begin with the story and then go into some gameplay sections and end it with an overall score. The story of Intermission takes place during the events of Part 1, where Cloud is separated from the rest of his friends after defeating the Airbuster. Yuffie is sent on a mission by the Wutai government to infiltrate Shinra headquarters using the help of the terrorist group called Avalanche, all in order to search for a secret weapon which the Shinra has in their possession. Yuffie is still the same old annoying ninja which I remembered from the original Final Fantasy VII game back in 1997. And I mean that in a good way. Her bubbly attitude in this grim world really stands out, and I have to say that the developers really stayed faithful when it came to reincarnating her on the PlayStation 5. She made me laugh a lot in this DLC thanks to her clumsiness and the way her partner Sonon responded when she messed up really bad, which made me laugh out loud. Who, by the way, wasn't in the original game back on the PlayStation 1. I enjoyed Sonon as a brand new character, and I think Square Enix should be commended for creating new characters that feel exciting to interact with and learn about, as it does deepen the lore and my love for Final Fantasy VII. The story was solid in my opinion. Seeing Yuffie and Sonon interact with each other and meeting other new characters, and old ones as well, really made me care about the story in this DLC. And during deep moments in the DLC story, there were parts that really had me hooked and made me care about the characters, especially Sonon. I don't want to spoil too much, especially for those who haven't beaten the game yet, as Square Enix did include a new ending in this game, which will connect to part 2, so I'll just stop here, but I enjoyed the story a lot. The fighting is the same as FF7 Part 1. You attack using the square button in order to fill up your ATB bar, which stands for Active Time Battle, and is more real-time based but still requires you to stop and plan ahead so that you can choose an appropriate ability or magic spell in order to gain the advantage. Yuffie herself is both an exciting and interesting character to play as, just like the rest of the cast from Part 1. Yuffie can do normal close-up attacks, as well as switching to a far-range combat style by throwing her shuriken at an enemy from afar, and then relying on her magical abilities to attack enemies from afar. And when you press the triangle button while in this combat mode, you can then press triangle to quickly dash towards the enemy and dish out ability attacks to stagger or cause a lot of damage to an enemy. Yuffie has a lot of abilities to use, like for example, she has a whirlwind attack which is super helpful when facing a large group of enemies. Sonon isn't playable, but you still have to pay close attention to his ATB bar, and when it does fill up, you then have to select either a magic spell like Cure or Fire, or select an ability he can use to damage the enemies. The further you get, the more abilities you unlock, and there are abilities where Yuffie and Sonon can do a team attack on an enemy when the specific requirements are fulfilled. I really enjoyed playing as Yuffie, and her moveset is really enjoyable and deep, especially during the boss fights in this game. The boss fights were the main highlights for me here. Every boss forced me to play carefully and strategically, forcing me to switch up my playstyle as Yuffie and made me rely on her full moveset in order to get the job done. I loved the boss fights in both Part 1 and in this DLC. awesome stuff. The materia system in this game is just as deep here as it is in part 1. The materia system basically allows you to equip a certain ability or magic attack to your character, and it is up to you and your playstyle on which kind of materia you want to equip to best suit your playstyle. You have a lot of choices here, and some new ones as well, which can be linked to other materia, allowing for a team attack when the requirements and conditions have been met in battle. Now, when you're not fighting and just exploring or figuring out where to go, Yuffie can run along walls and jump across obstacles to reach other platforms and areas, which did change up things and made exploring feel fresh and brand new, instead of just running in a straight line, which kept me invested as I explored the areas, trying to find all of the treasure chests. Yuffie can also throw her shuriken to hit faraway objects such as boxes or activate switches from a long distance, which is pretty cool. There are fun side quests which Square Enix has added in this DLC, which are fun to participate in. For example, the Fort Condor minigame, which is based off the original Fort Condor side quest in FF7 on PS1, is here and remade for a newer audience, and I have to say that I enjoyed it a lot. Playing Fort Condor against some of the recurring characters was a mighty good time, and time pass, and is a good incentive to increase the DLC's playtime for replayability. I do hope that Square Enix still include the Fort Condor side quest in part 2. There's also a minigame where you have to break boxes in order to score points, which was pretty fun as well. I enjoyed it, it wasn't too bad. It's basically like the same minigame from part 1 where you have to destroy boxes as Cloud. Besides that, you have a new summon you can choose to fight, and if beaten, will become a summon that you can use during battles to assist you during combat. You also have the Shinra Combat Simulator making a return here, and you can choose to participate in these battles as well once you have beaten the main story campaign. One thing I do have to mention is that this DLC isn't very long. It took me about a couple hours give or take to beat, and I would have enjoyed at least 2 more hours or 3. But for $26 I can't complain, and I'm glad we got this DLC, as I love returning to Midgar and spending time with Cloud and his friends. Waiting for part 2 is going to be very hard for me, as I am super excited about the future of Final Fantasy VII, and given how much care and love Square Enix has put into remaking the first part of this story, I believe that the FF7 remake is in good hands. Fingers crossed. With all that said, I'm going to give FF7 Intermission DLC featuring Yuffie a solid 8 out of 10. So I have to recommend this to all of those who love Final Fantasy, especially Final Fantasy VII. That's all I have to say about this game, and thanks for making it to the end of this video. If you enjoyed the video, then don't forget to comment and like as well, and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy the content. I do my best to review video games because I enjoy playing them, and I love talking about video games in general, and I love sharing my opinion, and what I think about the latest games and old games as well. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what you thought about Final Fantasy VII Intermission featuring Yuffie as DLC. And have a great day until the next Roguespirit review video. Peace out, my spirits.